In every generation, there are those who begin with enthusiasm and end with excuses. The world is filled with people who start well but stop short, who begin with dreams but end with doubt. Yet, somewhere among them, there emerges one person who keeps going when others give up, who continues to move forward when the crowd turns back. That person has not mastered luck or talent. They have mastered the mind. The first battle of success is always invisible. It happens not in the marketplace, not in the classroom, but within the quiet corridors of your own thoughts. Every morning, before you face the world, you face yourself. You decide whether you will be governed by discipline or by emotion, by reason or by reaction, and that decision, repeated day after day, shapes your destiny more than any external force ever could. The one who wins inside can never be defeated outside. Discipline is the bridge between potential and achievement. Desire is easy, it burns brightly at the beginning. But when the path becomes steep, when fatigue sets in, when progress slows to a crawl, desire fades. Only discipline endures. The disciplined mind keeps walking long after the excitement has gone. It understands that consistency builds strength and that the smallest daily effort, done faithfully, becomes unstoppable over time. The world does not reward those who begin well. It rewards those who refuse to stop. Success begins when applause ends. Many people perform when there is attention, when there is recognition, when others are watching. But real growth happens in silence, when no one is there to encourage, when the results seem distant, and when quitting would be easy. That is the moment that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. For every person who stops when it gets difficult, there is one who keeps pushing, and that one becomes the example others talk about long after the noise has faded. Your thoughts are the architects of your future. Every idea you nurture, every belief you hold, every vision you feed, it all becomes the blueprint of your destiny. A trained mind does not entertain defeat, doubt, or distraction. It guards its thoughts the way a soldier guards a fortress, knowing that one careless idea can undo years of progress. Whatever you hold in your mind with faith and persistence must eventually appear in your reality, because the mind moves you toward what it constantly contemplates. Failure is not a punishment, it is preparation. The successful do not fear setbacks, they study them. Each obstacle teaches endurance, patience, and creativity. Those who quit see only the pain, those who persist see the lesson. Every challenge endured without surrender makes you stronger, wiser, more equipped for the next climb. The mind trained to find meaning in adversity becomes indestructible. It learns to turn pain into power and resistance into resolve. In the end, success is quiet. It does not shout, it whispers. It comes not to those who rush, but to those who persist with calm determination. The reward for endurance is not just what you achieve, but who you become in the process. When you train your mind to keep going when others quit, you step into a life of rare strength and deep peace. Because the mind, once disciplined and directed, becomes the greatest ally a person can ever have. Every person who has ever achieved something extraordinary began with a single decision: to master their own mind. The battlefield of success is not out there in the world, it begins within the walls of thought. Most people lose before they ever start, not because they lack ability, but because they never win the war inside. The thoughts they allow to linger become the limits they cannot cross. The emotions they refuse to control become the storms that wreck their journey. Before any external victory can be claimed, the internal struggle must be won. It is a quiet, invisible battle fought in moments of doubt, distraction, and temptation, when the mind whispers reasons to stop and the heart must learn to answer with resolve. The mind is both a servant and a master when trained. It works tirelessly in your favor, directing energy, sharpening focus, and revealing solutions that others cannot see. But when left undisciplined, it becomes a rebel, scattering your energy, feeding fear, and magnifying every obstacle until you no longer believe you can continue. That is why success does not belong to the intelligent alone, nor to the fortunate, but to those who take control of the one thing most people neglect: their own thinking. Every great achievement is the outward expression of a mind that has been disciplined to believe when others doubt and to act when others hesitate. Each day the mind presents two doors. One leads to progress, the other to paralysis. The choice seems small in the moment, but repeated over time it defines a life. When you decide to think constructively instead of complaining, to focus on solutions instead of problems, to persist instead of retreat, you are training your mind to work for you instead of against you. This training does not happen once, it must happen daily. The mind is like a muscle. Neglected, it weakens; challenged, it grows. Every thought you entertain, every emotion you control, every distraction you deny builds the quiet strength that later appears as success to others who never saw the struggle. People often imagine that success is about strategy, timing, or luck. But long before any of those play a role, the inner foundation must be laid. The person who has not mastered their mind will always find a reason to stop. They will surrender to fatigue, criticism, or fear because their inner voice has not been trained to stand firm. The mind will always find proof for what it believes. If it believes you can't, it will find reasons to confirm it. If it believes you can, it will search tirelessly for the way. To win the first battle, you must teach your mind to believe in your capacity before evidence exists, to focus on the possibility instead of the problem, to build faith instead of feeding doubt. There are moments in every pursuit when the path grows dark, when results do not appear, when effort seems wasted, when silence replaces encouragement. In these moments, an untrained mind panics, but a trained mind remains steady. It knows that growth often happens unseen, that progress hides beneath the surface long before it breaks through. This calmness, this inner stillness is not natural. It is developed. It comes from countless times choosing thought over impulse, discipline over comfort, purpose over fear. The person who trains their mind learns that control begins with awareness of what you think, what you feel, and what you allow to guide your next step. Master that, and no situation can truly defeat you, because victory will already have been secured where it matters most. Desire is the spark that starts the fire, but discipline is the steady flame that keeps it burning when the wind begins to blow. Many people begin their journey with passion, with excitement, with big dreams and endless plans. They tell themselves this is the moment everything will change. But as the days turn into weeks, as challenges appear and comfort fades, that same passion begins to dim. What once felt thrilling begins to feel tiring, and what once looked easy begins to feel impossible. In that moment, the difference between success and failure is not talent or luck. It is discipline. Discipline does not depend on mood. It does not wait for inspiration. It does not care if you feel ready. It is the quiet force that keeps you moving forward long after motivation has disappeared. Desire's emotional discipline is intentional. Desire gives you a reason to start, but discipline gives you the power to continue. When you rely on desire alone, your progress will always rise and fall with your emotions. Some days you will feel unstoppable, and others you will struggle to move at all. But when you build the habit of discipline, you free yourself from the inconsistency of feelings. You no longer depend on the spark to stay lit, because you've built a fire that feeds itself through action, through structure, through commitment. Discipline does not ask, do I feel like it? It simply says, this is what must be done, and does it. Every person who has achieved mastery in any field understands this truth. The musician who practices when inspiration fades, the athlete who trains before sunrise, the writer who works through the quiet hours of doubt, all have learned that success is a result of doing what others refuse to do consistently. The disciplined mind sees beyond the moment. It does not chase comfort, it chases growth. It understands that repetition is not punishment but preparation. Each act of discipline is a vote for the future self you want to become, and each act of laziness is a vote for the self you used to be. In time, these small votes decide who you are. There will always be easier paths, always temptations that promise quick results, shortcuts that claim to save time and effort. But discipline teaches you that anything gained without struggle rarely lasts. It gives you the patience to build slowly, brick by brick, knowing that every small effort compounds over time. The disciplined person doesn't need external validation. They find satisfaction in progress itself. While others wait for the right conditions, they create them. While others look for motivation, they move without it. It is this quiet consistency that turns ordinary effort into extraordinary achievement. Discipline is also a form of freedom. It frees you from the chaos of indecision, from the paralysis of doubt, from the endless loop of starting and stopping. It gives your mind clarity and your actions purpose. It transforms your goals from distant possibilities into inevitable outcomes. When you are disciplined, you do not rely on chance because you have built structure into your life that leads you where you intend to go. Each disciplined choice strengthens the next one, and soon what was once difficult becomes automatic, natural part of who you are. The truth is, success is not a single act. It is a pattern. It is formed in the small, invisible choices that no one applauds and few even notice. Discipline is not glamorous. It is quiet, repetitive, and often uncomfortable. But that is why so few possess it and why it produces results that others can only dream of. The disciplined mind has learned to silence the voice that says later, to quiet the excuses that whisper tomorrow, and to act today regardless of how it feels. It does not chase the fire of excitement. It builds the steady flame of consistency that burns long after others have gone cold. The true test of ambition begins not at the starting line, but long after the cheers have faded. In the beginning, every goal feels alive with excitement. The air is filled with possibility. The heart beats faster, and everything seems within reach. But time has a way of separating the curious from the committed. The energy of beginning slowly gives way to the weight of effort. The routine grows heavy, the challenges multiply, and the world grows silent. It is in that silence that most people stop. They confuse the end of applause with the end of purpose. But for those who understand persistence, that silence is the beginning of greatness. Success does not belong to those who work only when it feels good. It belongs to those who continue when there is no visible reward, no encouragement, and no recognition. It belongs to those who keep showing up when there's no one left to notice. The world is full of people who can start, but empty of those who can endure. The difference is not intelligence, not resources, not opportunity. It is endurance. Persistence is the proof of faith in what you believe. It is the quiet statement that says, I will continue not because it's easy, but because it matters. When the applause stops, most begin to doubt themselves. They mistake the quiet for failure, the delay for denial, the struggle for the signal to quit. But the truth is, the moment the world stops applauding is the moment you must begin applauding yourself. You must become your own encourager, your own supporter, your own driving force. Because external validation is temporary. It comes and goes like a breeze. But inner conviction, once built, becomes unshakable. Persistence is not sustained by motivation. It is sustained by meaning. When you know why you began, you will never need someone else to remind you to continue. There is a hidden power in continuing when others stop. Each step you take beyond the comfort zone builds resilience. Each hour you endure beyond fatigue builds strength. Each setback faced without surrender builds character. While others are waiting for a second wind, the persistent are already creating momentum. The world rarely sees the long nights, the quiet sacrifices, the lonely hours of preparation. It only sees the result. But behind every success story is a chapter of silence, a stretch of time where no one believed and no one cared. Those who endured that season became unstoppable because they learned how to move without applause. The law of persistence is simple. What you do consistently eventually breaks through. Most people give up too early to see the compound effect of their own effort. They dig for gold, stop inches away, and walk away believing it wasn't there. But the persistent understand that effort is cumulative, not wasted. Every small act of progress adds to the unseen momentum that one day bursts through as success. The hardest days are often the closest to breakthrough, but only those who keep moving ever find out. To persist is to master patience. It is to walk with faith through uncertainty, to believe in growth even when it is invisible, to hold steady when everything around you trembles. Persistence does not demand perfection. It demands endurance. It asks you to keep your head down and your heart high. It teaches you that success is not about the noise at the beginning, but about the strength to keep walking when the world has gone quiet. Because when the applause stops, persistence begins, and only those who continue beyond that silence discover how far the human spirit can truly go. Everything begins with thought. Every building, every invention, every achievement started first as an idea within someone's mind. Thought is the foundation of all creation, yet most people treat it as something random, something that just happens. They allow their thoughts to wander unchecked, unaware that what they think shapes what they become. The mind is a fertile field. It will grow whatever you plant in it. If you plant fear, it will grow limitation. If you plant doubt, it will grow hesitation. But if you plant vision, belief, and purpose, it will produce results that reach far beyond your current reality. Controlling thought is not about denial, it is about direction. It is the art of choosing what you allow to take root. The untrained mind reacts to everything it encounters. It absorbs negativity, responds to distractions, and becomes overwhelmed by uncertainty. It runs wherever emotion leads it, and because emotion shifts with circumstance, so does the direction of life. A trained mind, however, is intentional. It recognizes that not every thought deserves attention. It learns to pause before reacting, to analyze before assuming, to replace the destructive with the constructive. The person who learns to control their thinking learns to control their world, for circumstances may change, but the power to choose one's response remains constant. This control becomes the difference between those who drift through life and those who direct it. Most people underestimate how much power lies in a single thought. One thought of gratitude can dissolve hours of frustration. One thought of courage can replace days of fear. One thought of faith can transform the way you see an impossible situation. Yet, without awareness, these thoughts pass unnoticed. The disciplined mind learns to catch them, to hold them, to feed them until they grow strong enough to shape new behavior. Every great change begins not with action, but with a decision to think differently. When you command your thoughts, your actions naturally follow. And when your actions align with vision, your life aligns with purpose. The mind is always listening. Whatever you tell it, it begins to believe. When you repeat, I can't, it builds evidence to prove you right. When you affirm, I can, it begins searching for ways to make it true. The thoughts you repeat most often become the beliefs that govern your life. This is why self-discipline begins in the mind long before it appears in habits. You cannot live a positive life with a negative mind. You cannot achieve greatness while constantly entertaining the thought of failure. Controlling your thoughts means becoming the gatekeeper of your destiny, allowing in only what strengthens and guarding against what weakens. It is a daily practice, but with time, it becomes instinctive. A wandering mind is a weak mind. It dissipates energy through worry, distraction, and regret. But a focused mind gathers power. It channels energy into creation, progress, and growth. Every successful person has trained their thoughts to remain fixed on the goal rather than the obstacle. They know that whatever you focus on expands, and that attention is the currency of progress. Where your attention goes, your energy flows, and where your energy flows, results grow. Controlling thought is therefore not suppression. It is selection. It is choosing the thoughts that serve your vision and releasing those that sabotage it. When you begin to command your thoughts, life begins to obey. You stop being a victim of emotion and start becoming the master of direction. You no longer live by reaction, but by intention. Each moment becomes an opportunity to choose the higher thought, the stronger belief, the clearer vision. The greatest victories in life are not won in battlefields or boardrooms, but within the quiet spaces of the mind, where thoughts are chosen, beliefs are built, and destinies are formed. Every person who dares to pursue something meaningful will eventually meet failure. It is not a question of if, but when. The road to success is littered with obstacles that test your patience, your belief, and your courage. Most people see these moments as signs to stop, as proof that they were never meant to succeed. But the truth is, every setback hides a lesson, every failure carries instruction, and every disappointment contains within it the seed of greater strength. The only difference between those who rise and those who fall is how they interpret the experience. The same storm that destroys one person strengthens another, because one curses the wind while the other learns how to sail against it. When life knocks you down, you are given two choices to see yourself as a victim or as a student. The victim asks, "Why did this happen to me?" The student asks, "What can I learn from this?" That single shift in perspective turns defeat into development. The mind trained for success does not dwell on the loss, it studies it. It dissects every failure for its lessons, understanding that pain is often the tuition fee for wisdom. Every rejection teaches resilience, every mistake sharpens judgment, and every obstacle refines skill. Growth does not happen in moments of comfort. It happens in moments of resistance. Without resistance, muscles do not strengthen, and without challenge, character does not grow. The world often teaches us to avoid failure, to stay safe, to seek the path of least resistance. But that is the path of stagnation. Setbacks are not roadblocks. They are redirections. They guide you toward the next step, the better approach, the clearer vision. The most powerful individuals in history were not spared from failure. They were shaped by it. They understood that failure is not final. It is feedback. It tells you what doesn't work so you can get closer to what does. When you embrace this truth, the fear of failure loses its hold. You begin to move with confidence, not because you expect perfection, but because you trust your ability to adapt. Every challenge you face reveals something about you. It exposes your weaknesses, yes, but it also uncovers your potential. Setbacks test how badly you want what you claim to desire. They strip away pretenders and leave only the truly committed standing. When things fall apart, that is when you discover what you're truly made of. And if you choose to rise, you will never return to the same level again. Each time you recover, you rise with more awareness, more strength, more certainty in your ability to overcome. The person who has failed and learned is infinitely stronger than the one who has never been tested. There is a quiet transformation that happens when you learn to turn adversity into advantage. You stop reacting to life and start responding to it. You stop fearing problems and begin seeking their purpose. You start to realize that struggle is not the opposite of success. It is the foundation of it. The diamond only shines because it endured pressure. The seed only grows because it broke through the soil. The mind only matures because it has learned to navigate challenge after challenge without losing faith. Each setback is therefore not a step back, but a step deeper into your own potential. To turn setbacks into strength, you must meet them with reflection, not resentment. Ask what they are trying to teach you, what skills they are trying to develop, what patience they are trying to form. The greatest victories are born from the moments that tested you the most. You may not see it immediately, but in time you will recognize that every delay was preparing you, every failure was refining you, and every obstacle was forcing you to grow into the person capable of holding the success you once only dreamed about. There is a kind of strength that does not shout, that does not seek attention, that does not demand recognition. It is the strength of endurance, the power to keep going quietly, faithfully, without the need for approval or applause. Most people are drawn to the visible signs of success, but few understand that behind every visible triumph lies years of invisible effort. Endurance is what bridges the distance between desire and fulfillment. It is the quality that allows you to move forward when nothing seems to change, to remain steady when the world seems to move against you. It is the inner stillness that holds you together when everything around you feels uncertain. Endurance is not dramatic, but it is powerful, for it builds something stronger than results. It builds character. The path to any worthy goal is not a straight line. It is a long and winding road filled with obstacles that test your will. There are days when progress feels non-existent, when each step feels heavier than the last. In those moments, endurance whispers the truth that success is not about speed. It is about persistence. The one who endures does not measure success by how quickly they arrive, but by how faithfully they continue. The impatient seek quick results and give up when they do not appear. The patient endure the silence, trusting that every small effort, every unseen act commitment, is shaping something greater in the background. Endurance is the art of continuing with faith when logic gives you reasons to stop. The quiet reward of endurance is transformation. Each time you refuse to quit, you strengthen the part of yourself that can never be broken. You learn to rely on your inner power rather than the external circumstances. You begin to see that struggle is not there to stop you but to sculpt you. The person who endures emerges not only stronger but also wiser, calmer, and more resilient. Endurance teaches you to find peace in effort, to work without demanding immediate reward, to plant seeds without constantly checking if they have sprouted. It teaches you patience with time, with others, and with yourself. It transforms restlessness into resilience and frustration into focus. Endurance also reveals truth. It exposes what you truly value, for only what matters deeply is worth enduring for. When you continue in the absence of comfort, you discover what drives you at the core. You learn the difference between a wish and a purpose, between a fantasy and a conviction. Many people chase success because it looks appealing, but only those with true conviction endure the long journey it requires. Endurance strips away illusion and leaves only what is genuine. It becomes the test of authenticity, the point where only the real, the committed, and the steadfast remain. There is a peace that comes from endurance, a quiet knowing that you have done your part regardless of outcome. When you can persist through difficulty without bitterness, when you can continue working without the need for recognition, when you can face delay without despair, you have reached a rare state of strength. You have learned to control not only your actions, but also your emotions. You no longer depend on instant results to validate your path because you trust the process itself. Endurance turns waiting into wisdom, effort into excellence, and time into an ally instead of an enemy. It teaches you that great things take great patience, and that persistence always produces something valuable, even if unseen at first. The true reward of endurance is not merely the achievement at the end, but the person you become through the process. You develop the kind of strength that cannot be taken away, the kind of peace that cannot be shaken, and the kind of confidence that comes only from having endured and prevailed. Endurance is the quiet force that finishes what enthusiasm starts, the invisible hand that carries you through the darkness until the dawn arrives.